Hello everybody. Very important lesson today. This is the fourth and final lesson, which has been building and building and building to evaluate exponents. And I can evaluate exponents by following the steps in my song. First step is to deal with the radicals. Radicals are fractional exponents. So if you see a radical, we're going to rewrite it as a fractional exponent. Then we're going to get rid of parentheses. Whatever exponent I have outside of parentheses goes inside. Then I deal with my negative exponents. Negative exponents are fractions. Move whatever being raised to the negative power. And then clean it up. MD. M stands for multiply. We might need to multiply. We might need to divide. Or we might need to put it back into the radical. So to help us remember these, well, here's our song. Exponents.
Radicals are fractional exponents. Get rid of parentheses. Negative exponents are fractions. Clean it up and see.
You want more? Okay.
Radicals are fractional exponents. Get rid of parentheses. Negative exponents are fractions. Clean it up and see.
So if you follow those steps, these problems really aren't bad. Students don't do great with these questions because they lack structure. If you follow the structure and you're comfortable with the 3 lessons that came before this, this really isn't bad. If you're not comfortable with the 3 lessons that came before this, you need to go back to those and master those. Exponent rules. I'll just write that out here. So the first lesson was exponent rules. That's your multiplication, division, getting rid of parentheses. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Then we did negative exponents. Move whatever's being raised to a negative power. Then we did given fractional exponents. Radicals are fractional exponents. And then today, given radicals. After this lesson, we're going to do a practice lesson. And every region, not only is this asked on every regions, it's usually asked twice on every regions. It's usually asked as a multiple choice and an open response. So very important type of question. Radicals are fractional exponents. Here, I'm going to just copy and paste the song on each question so we can refer to that as we're doing it. And it's a little bit too big. Let's just make it a little smaller. That looks nice. Real good. Radicals are fractional exponents. Do I see a radical? Yes. Now, this is kind of new for this lesson. We haven't done this step. So I'm going to take what's inside the radical. I'm going to put it in parentheses. And I'm going to raise it to a fractional power. The fractional power is always the power over the root. So what power is this whole thing being risen to? 1. The root is what's in front of the radical, and if there is no root written for a radical, it's an imaginary 2. I know most things are an imaginary 1, but for a radical, it's a square root, it's an imaginary 2, so the fractional exponent is 1 over 2. This is the opposite direction of what we did last lesson. First step, if I see a radical, rewrite it as a fractional exponent. What's inside the radical, we put inside parentheses, and then the exponent is the power over the root. If there's no power written, it's a 1. If there's no root written, it's a 2. Get rid of parentheses. When you raise a power to a power, you multiply. 2 times 1 is 2, over 2 is 1. 5 times 1 is 5, over 2 is 5 over 2. Negative exponents are fractions. No negative exponents. Clean it up, MZ. There's not much to clean up here. X to the first power is just x. And that is your, I forgot where I was. Someone just walked in, but it looks like we're done with the problem. One thing I was going to mention, if it's multiple choice, it's possible that they might put the y to the 5/2 back into the radical, but we're not going to worry about that. Radicals are fractional exponents. Do I see a radical? Yes. So I'm going to take what's inside the radical. I'm going to put it in parentheses. The fractional exponent is the power over the root. The power this whole thing is being risen to is 1. The root is 3, so the fractional exponent is 1/3. Oh, I said I was going to copy and paste this, didn't I? Ah, it's too big. Let's just copy and paste this. Come on. Get rid of parentheses. Yes, there are parentheses, so everything inside gets it. Again, from here on out, it's exactly what you did in the last lesson. The only thing that's new is this first step. So 27 gets the 1/3 power, x to the 6th. 6 times 1 is 6/3 is 2. 8 times 1 is 8/3 is 8/3. Negative exponents are fractions. No negative exponents. Clean it up, MZ. There's no multiplication, there's no division, but I can deal with the 27 to the 1/3 power. You can do it, ideally you can do it mentally. Ideally you know that the 1/3 power is the cubed root. But if you want to do it off to the side, power root, cubed root of 27 is 3 to the 1st is 3. That's great. Although this wouldn't be my top choice. You could also just go to your calculator and type in 27 to the power of 1/3. You are going to see, though, in the next lesson, in the practice lesson, for Regents questions, they're going to ask you to explain how to get that, and you need to know how to do it, either mentally or by hand like this. That's your answer. I want you to try number 3 on your own. The only hint I'm going to give you is the root, being how there's no root written. It's a 2. The power is there. So why don't you pause this, try number 3 on your own, and then unpause. Now that you tried number 3 on your own, radicals are fractional exponents. I take what's inside the radical, I put it in parentheses. The fractional exponent is the power over the root. Get rid of parentheses. Everything inside gets it. 25 to the 3/2. X, 3 times 3 is 9/2, is 9/2. 4 times 3 is 12/2 is 6. Negative exponents are fractions. No negative exponents. Clean it up, MZ. The only thing to clean up here is 25 to the 3/2 power. Ideally, you can do that mentally. Next from ideal is being able to do it off to the side. Radicals are fractional exponents. Power over the root. Radical 25 is 5. 5 to the 3rd is 125. Less ideal is for you to go to your calculator and type in 25 to the power of 3/2. But I would rather you do that than say, I don't know, or get it wrong. Either way, it's 125. X to the 9/2, y to the 6th, and that's my answer. I don't know why my 9 looks so weird. I'm sure some of you are bothered by that. So now my 2 looks weird, and now my 2 looks even weirder, and everything is just spiraling out of control. Now it looks like a Z. Deal deal. All right, move on. Number 4, keep in mind for number 4, if you're watching this in 2020, well, consistent with 2020 where everything was just a mess, there was a typo on the original sheet. There was a 4 instead of a 16, but it should be 16. Radicals are fractional exponents. Do I see a radical? Yes. So rewrite it as a fractional exponent. I'm just going to give you a few seconds, 10 seconds, to try and do that first step. Rewrite it as a fractional exponent. Power over the root. Get rid of parentheses. I want you to try that step on your own right now. I'll give you 30 seconds. Give that negative 1/4 power to everything inside. (16 to the negative 1/4). 5 times negative 1 is negative 5 over 4 is negative 5 over 4. Y, 8 to the negative 1 is negative 8 over 4 is negative 2. Negative exponents are fractions. I see negative exponents, so I make a fraction. Whatever's being raised to the negative power moves. 16 is being raised to the negative power, so it moves to the bottom. X is being raised to the negative power, so it moves to the bottom. Y is being raised to the negative power, so it moves to the bottom. Since there's nothing on top, it's just a 1. Clean it up, MD. The only thing to clean up is that 16 to the 1/4. Ideally, you can do that mentally. Second from ideally, you can do it by putting it into a radical. Power over the root. The 4th root of 16 is 2 to the 1st, which is 2. And again, you could always type the 4th root of 16 into the calculator. If you don't know the 4th root of 16, and either way you end up with a 2. To type in the 4th root of 16, you would hit 4 math 5. So my answer is 1 over 2x to the 5. Oh, this is getting sloppy. It's hard to write when I'm down here at a space. Let's see if I can make it bigger. 1 over 2x to the 5 over 4 y squared. That's your final answer. You might be saying, Mr. Schlensky, what's the point? If I'm going to the calculator, instead of typing in the 4th root of 16, why don't I just type in 16 to the 1/4 power? Because if it's a question that you're going to be seeing in the next lesson where it says explain how you got your answer, knowing that you're taking the 4th root of 16 and explaining that is going to get you your points. Typing in 16 to the 1/4 power and getting 2 is not going to get you points. But knowing that it's the 4th root of 16 to the power of 1 will. So again, ideally, you can do it mentally. If you can't do it mentally because you're not as strong with your arithmetic, that's okay. Do it by making a radical and doing it by hand. Worst case scenario, just type the whole thing in. And again, worst case scenario, you get the question wrong and you get that part wrong, and obviously we don't want that. All right. Let's keep on rolling. Let's skip that one. Let's try number 7. Radicals are fractional exponents. So don't be afraid of the fraction. Whatever's inside the radical is going to go in parentheses. The power is 1. The root is 3. Get rid of parentheses. I want you to try and finish this problem off from here. Please pause, complete number 7, and then unpause. Now that you tried number 7 on your own, let's see if you got it right. I'm giving that 1/3 power to everything, all four things inside. So when I'm raising a power to a power, I multiply. -6 times 1 is -6 over 3 is -2. 12 times 1 is 12 over 3 is 4. 27 to the 1/3. If it's just an integer, leave it as 27 to the 1/3. Z, you're multiplying. -9 times 1 is -9 over 3 is -3. Negative exponents are fractions. I start my top left. X is being raised to a negative power, so it moves. Y stays. 27 stays. So since it's on bottom, I'm going to keep it on bottom. Z is being raised to a negative power, so it moves. So it's getting a little messy. So I have y to the 4th, z to the 3rd over 27 to the 1/3 x squared. Clean it up. The only thing I can clean up is that 27 to the 1/3 power. Again, do that off to the side if you need to. Radicals are fractional exponents. Power over the root. Cube root of 27 is 3. To the 1st is 3. So my final answer would be y to the 4th, z to the 3rd over 3x squared. All right. Let's just go over one more, number 11, and then we're going to let you practice the rest of the period. Why don't you try 11 on your own first? I don't feel there's anything new that I need to go over with you. So try number 11 on your own. Please pause, complete number 11 on your own, and then unpause. Okay, let's copy and paste my song. Radicals are fractional exponents. Do I see a radical? Yes. So I'm going to rewrite as a fractional exponent. Power is 1, the root is 4. Get rid of parentheses. Everything inside gets it. 16 gets it. When I'm raising a variable to a power, multiply the powers. 2 times 1 is 2 over 4. 2 over 4 reduces to 1/2. 7 times 1 is 7 over 4. I can't reduce, is 7 over 4. Negative exponents are fractions. No negative exponents. Clean it up, and z. Well, the only thing again I can do is at 16 to the 1/4 power. Power over the root. The 4th root of 16 is 2. To the 1st power is 2. Why is it 2? Because what number times itself 4 times is 16? 2. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And again, worst comes to worst, it's a multiple choice question. It's still up there from the last problem we did. 16 to the 1/4 is 2. So I have 2x to the 1/2, y to the 7/4, and my answer is choice 1. You can use multiple choice strategy for these questions. In fact, in the next lesson, I'm going to tell you to do multiple choice strategy for these questions, because when they're in the regions, they're usually pretty hard when they're multiple choice. So using the multiple choice strategy will definitely be my suggestion. However, these two problems are not necessarily hard, so I'd rather you do these by hand, and then when we get to the next lesson, I'd like you to use your multiple choice strategy then. So listen, this is a very important lesson. It's the culmination of 4 lessons. I wrote them here. Exponent rules led to negative exponents, led to given fractional exponents, leads to this lesson, given radicals. After this, we're going to practice a little bit more, but nothing new. We're going to talk about a few tricks and whatnot in there. Every regions they ask usually 2 questions on this. It's also a fairly common SAT question. I wouldn't say it comes up on every region, on every SAT, but it comes up maybe about half of the time. So it's something you're going to see there. So it's a very important lesson. Spend the time, practice it, make sure you can do everything that came before it, make sure you can do this. Again, I can evaluate exponents by following the steps in my song. Radicals are fractional exponents. Get rid of parentheses, then negative exponents are fractions, then clean it up. If you follow those steps, you're good to go. If you don't follow those steps, it's going to be a little messy. Have a great day. Your classwork/homework is to finish given radicals.